And I know that I sound crazy now, even talking about a $10,000 XR. People are like, get out of here, dude. Like 10 to 13 bucks is the top on this cycle. Just stop talking about these crazy numbers. But in reality, if you look at the global macroeconomics and you look at the value proposition for the network itself, I'm highly confident that it will achieve those numbers. And it is because, if you looked at the market cap at that point, it would seem incomprehensible to most people to have quadrillions or septillions of dollars on chain. How? Right. But the difference here is stocks are all available to be traded. All those units are available to be traded at all times. So that demand, whatever it is on the stock and whatever it's priced at, is a correlation to the total outstanding shares versus what it's trading at. These cryptocurrencies can be held away, right? And so that you've already seen some of this with Bitcoin. There's a ton of Bitcoin that's been lost. There's a ton of Bitcoin that people just hold that they're never going to sell for any reason. Institutions, ETFs, other people are buying this up. And that's driven the price up, supply and demand, just normal economics, right? So total outstanding amount of a crypto versus what's available are two very different numbers. And if you look at XRP in particular, there's 100 billion that were minted. There's less than that now because a little bit's burnt every single day. It'll last, close to 50,000 years at the current burn rate, which people are like, oh, it's all going to get burned up. Not anytime soon. That's why they made 100 billion of them. But the total available supply across exchanges, if you were even just to look at the wallets, is somewhere around 9 billion, so 1/10 of the supply. And then that's not actually what's available to be purchased. The exchanges have an accounting overlay across all the wallets that they hold that allows, certain portions of that to be tradable and what's held by retail. So in my estimation, based on, years of study, I think there's around 2 billion XRP currently on the market available for trade between the exchanges and retail. So 2% of the total supply. So now if you're talking about $5 trillion a day for Swift volume to move through the asset, what's available to actually move that? Not a whole lot. Now that's where you're getting these crazy moves to the upside. And that has to, there has to be liquidity driven into the asset, but those trading volumes will be what sustains it at those high levels. And so I think that that's the paradigm that a lot of people have a hard time getting over, is the actual utility of these networks hasn't even occurred yet. All of this is speculative, but they need to be, again, like I mentioned earlier, once they drive the liquidity into these networks and issue stable coins and there's volume, then they'll be able to use it in the capacity that a lot of the people that are invested here are hopeful for. That's how I think we can get to these crazy high valuations, is again, just traditional supply and demand, but a much smaller supply than people think is what's available. And then I think the demand for these assets, when there actually is utility, will be astronomical.